Welcome to Podnutz Daily for January 28th, 2009, episode number 140. Today I had my first Xbox 360 come in to the shop with the red rings of death. And I've been doing research on the internet trying to find out the best way to cure it besides wrapping a towel around it and practically melting the thing, which is what a lot of people like to do. So what I found is it's a heat problem, mainly, either on the RAM chips or on the processor and graphics chip. And I think what happens is the motherboard warps a little bit, and the way the heat sinks are attached is with a silly, like, X, what would you call this thing? Like a piece of metal. It's like a shape of an X, and it's a retention bracket, basically, for the heat sinks. And that screws in through the bottom, and it's just not working good for these Xboxes. So a lot of people, what they're doing is taking that X off and screwing screws directly into the heatsink from the bottom of the motherboard, fastening it down tight, using washers to keep the motherboard straight, and doing it that way. So I'm going to give that a shot and see how that goes tomorrow. I just got to pick up some hardware. Going to hit Home Depot, get a couple, like 8 screws, 8 washers, and that should handle the problem. If it does, I'm probably going to do a lot more of those jobs because there's such a demand for fixing red rings of death. I don't know if you guys ever went looking to buy an used Xbox 360, like on Craigslist or something. There's more people advertising that they're going to fix the red ring of death than there are people selling Xbox 360s. So there's some money to be made out in that field. Next thing I want to talk about, yes, it's definitely out of warranty, by the way. Next thing I want to talk about is HP DV4000, 2000, 6000, one of those computers, one of those HPs. And kid had spilled water on his keyboard, and now there's stuck keys. Basically, when that happens, there's almost nothing you could do, in my experience, to fix these keys, because when the water seeps down to the point where it's actually affecting the key presses without you even hitting a key, it's like into that circuit board that's like a super thin layer of like conductors on under all the keys, and it's even if you clean the keys out and get under the keys and clean it, it's still hard to get that. I think once it seeps in there, it's almost impossible to get it. If it seeps through the layers, it's impossible to get it. New keyboard, I mean, they're not expensive. You get keyboards on eBay for like, I don't know, $20-$30. And you got to be careful, though, with the DV6000 and DV9000 and even DV2000. There's like 4 different makes of keyboard for the same exact computer. I don't know if the ribbons are all the same. If the ribbons are all the same, you should be able to use any one of those keyboards. But if you're just replacing keys on a keyboard, be careful if you want to buy keys for a HP DV computer, because there's so many different types of keyboards for the same exact model that the keys on one will not work on the keys on another one. Just be careful about that. Yesterday I did a power jack repair on a Dell 1000 Inspiron. My favorite power jack repair, by the way, is on a Dell B130. That is such a snap. I mean, there's only a couple screws that come out. The thing comes apart very easily, and I can use my favorite power jack on it. The reason I brought this up, too, also is on the Dell Inspiron 1000, the power jack that I like to use on it, it screws into these computers so easily. It fits perfectly. It's like meant to be the jack for that computer. I got the actual model number for the jack. It's just 274-1583. That's the size N power jack I use. I get at Radio Shack. Most of my laptop repairs, I use that jack because most laptop power adapters have a size N connector. On occasion, I will use the model number 274-1576, and that's a big N, like a big metal power jack, and I've used that on a couple of VAIOs too. You install that second one, and those babies, they don't move at all. One's for an N, one's for a big N. And that 1576 one, if it fits and you can put that in there, that's probably the most solid power jack repair you could ever do on a computer. But on the Inspiron 1000 and a B130, such a smooth fit. The thing screws right in. You have to drill the hole, the adapter hole, make it a little bigger. Once you do that, the jack just pops right into that hole. You screw it in, you tighten it with the nut, and it's a solid connection on a power jack repair. And then you just solder from the jack to the points on the motherboard where it's supposed to go. another Dell. No, it's just not a DV6000. This is a Dell, actually. Inspiron 6000. Customer brought in a computer with a screen problem. Now, here's what it was, the symptom. The symptom is laptop screen. When he turns the computer on, he sees a faint image of everything on the screen, but it's like there's no light. There's no backlight. That means one of two things. Either his inverter is bad, which is basically the circuit board that sits under the screen that powers the bulb in the screen, or the bulb itself in the screen is bad. If the inverter's bad, that's like a $20 part on eBay. If the bulb is bad, it's a screen replacement. It is possible to replace the bulb on these screens, but it is such a pain in the neck that I've done it maybe 5 times, and I will never do it again. It's time for a new screen if the bulb is bad. But if the inverter's bad, that's a very easy fix. And what you do to test if one or the other is bad is probably if you've been doing computer repair for a little while and you have a screen that comes in that's a cracked or bad LCD screen and you've replaced it, keep that screen. If you have a screen that has a good bulb but the screen is cracked, keep that screen for testing purposes. Keep a couple of them, in fact. And take that screen, and now if you need to test if the inverter or the bulb is bad on a computer, what you do is you take the front cover off of the laptop screen, and that's usually done by popping off the little rubber nubs that stop the screen when you on a laptop screen, stop the screen from banging in to the bottom half when you close it. There's little rubber nubs. Usually under those nubs are the screws to take the front bezel off the screen. Unscrew those screws. Pull the bezel off the front of the screen. Now you have the screen exposed and the inverter exposed. Now here's what you do. Take the old screen that's cracked that you have for testing purposes and plug it into the inverter that's on the laptop that you're trying to figure out if it's a bad inverter or bulb. If the inverter lights your test screen, then you know the bulb is bad in the screen. If the inverter does not light the test screen, then you know the inverter is bad. You might want to try with a couple screens because I know some inverters don't work well with certain bulbs. It has to be like the right voltage and current and this and that. So if you have, like, for example, a broken broken Dell Inspiron 6000 screen, use that screen. Or if you have just a standard 15.4-inch screen that most computers come with these days, that will usually be fine for testing the inverter. If the inverter lights the bulb on your test screen, you know the inverter's good. Then you tell the customer or yourself or whoever's doing the repair that they just need an inverter, and that should be it. You can buy them for like $20 on eBay. You could buy them from American or whatever country you live in. You could buy them usually in that country because there's so many of them on eBay. I don't like to buy things overseas just because it takes so long.